So I think the number one thing people have to do is pay yourself first. That is key. And by that, I mean, so you get your paycheck, it goes in your checking account. I learned how to automate everything. So I automatically had a portion of my pay, whether it be $10, $20, whatever it was, go to a different bank or go to an online bank or go to a savings account where I was actually forced to kind of save.
Hi, everyone. I'm Robbyn Battles, and welcome to the latest version of my podcast. I'm just saying, let's get to the point. And this is going to be a very interesting conversation. My guest today is Kathy Cuevas, and she has a company that she started called Financial Freedom Pathway, and it's empowering women to master their money. Kathy, welcome to the show, and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got here.
Oh gosh, I've had such a life. I retired from real work, but as a child, I loved to play Monopoly and have hotels and things like that on it. So I think that maybe started, oh, not maybe it started. I loved doing it back then. But going through college, I was a business major and then I was a teacher and I did a lot of things. And my probably the best teaching years was my last 13 where I got to teach personal finance. And by this time, I had already invested in real estate with the crash in 07, 08. So I had that experience. By this time, I've also passed my Series 6 and 63 exams to be a securities advisor, which I didn't really do because I only wanted to do it during my school hours because I still had girls in school. I wanted to be home in the evenings. So I have that experience. I invest my own money in the stock market. I've done E-Trade, Ameritrade between the accounts. And after I retired, I now manage my own retirement account, investing in how I see fit. So I've got the experience, and I've always had friends and family at church, and families have asked me, "Hey, can you help me with this?" And I'd love to jump in and say, "Well, this is what I would do," and blah blah blah. So that kind of started people asking me for help. And again, I worked at a Title I school, which is low income. 95% of the kids, I believe, were on free lunch. So this class was probably the best thing since apple pie they could have had. Many students were living multiple families in one house. At one time, I had a freshman girl that was living in a car with her mom. So these kids really needed this information. I had them for an entire year. They learned everything from A to Z, every insurance you can imagine, from health, disability, life, everything, auto insurance. They actually got to play the stock market game. So I taught that. So I kind of have a lot of experience behind me. So when I retired, I thought, I still want to help people, but I've extended with my family. So I thought I'd do like a coaching business. And that's when our online business started about a year and a half ago now. So it's kind of like a long end of the story, but that's kind of where I've been.
No, I think it's a great story, and you hit on so many important topics just in that one piece. There's so much right there. What I don't understand, and help explain this to people that are going to listen to this, why is it finances, basic finance is not taught in school? I don't get it. Why?
I was a business major and personal finance was never a topic. I don't know why, but right now, to give you some encouragement, by the year 2030, there's a push to have it required for graduation across the country. Right now, 20 states are on board, or closer to 30 by now, and they're only requiring a semester, but a semester is a lot better than nothing. So that is a movement. It's not talked about at home. Parents usually don't tell the kids what they make and how they pay the bills. So it's not really learned anywhere except trial and error on your own, which is how I learned it. I mean, my mom kept money under the mattress. We didn't know about bank accounts. She started one for us, a little savings account, but it's not really known a lot. It depends on your culture. And I was raised by a Hispanic mother, so I don't know if that makes a difference or not. She was a housekeeper. So I want to say that maybe kind of an ignorance or something about that. There was no knowledge there, coming from old school migrant farm workers and stuff. So I can understand how people don't have it. And I am so happy that the organization I was with, using a lot of the information from my classroom, is actually on a big push to get it required in all 50 states. So it will be shortly.
So to push to get it in high school, so to graduate high school, you have to have this one semester.
California, I think, is due to have it by the graduating class of 2027. So besides government and economics, they now have to have personal finance.
I think it's so long overdue because it was funny because there was this ad that popped up the other day, and it was for kindergartners, like kindergarten, first, second, third,
Mhm.
and it was about how you how you use your money and how you save your money. And it was this great little game. And I'm thinking, they get all these toys and all these laptops and they have all these gadgets, but they don't know how to buy that gadget or how money actually works. And I'm thinking, what if you just spent an hour a week teaching kids about basic, here's like most kids probably couldn't count change back. And I think that's really sad. And now they wonder why there's no money for them. So instead of us complaining about what happened in the past and how it is now, good to hear that it's going to be a requirement. But what can get I want really good tidbits for women, children, moms, anybody that's struggling. Where do they start to figure out how they can save some money so that they're not living paycheck to paycheck?
I wish I'd have known this back in the day because I went through a lot of hard times, let's say almost losing a house after my first divorce and having two young girls. So I think the number one thing people have to do is pay yourself first. That is key. And by that, I mean, so you get your paycheck, it goes in your checking account. I learned how to automate everything. So I automatically had a portion of my pay, whether it be $10, $20, whatever it was, go to a different bank or go to an online bank or go to a savings account where I was actually forced to kind of save. So you only spend what you got left or what you see, which is what I lived before I started saving. I spent and had nothing to ever save because I spent what was in the checking account. So having it automated, taking it out of the checking account, out of your, whatever your day-to-day useful money is very helpful. Then it depends on the person, whether you need the envelope system or there's apps for your phone that when you buy something, you record, you take it off of that budget category you set up for yourself. So there's so many things these days that I help my clients use whatever they feel like using or they're comfortable using and just teaching them how to live within their means and save at the same time and invest as well. But if they have debt, you got to pay the debt off before you can start investing.
And I think that's where people maybe they fail is that they've accumulated this debt and they're thinking, okay, I have the debt. I have such high interest on the debt. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I use the debt to pay so because there was something that came up in the house. And it seems like it's this vicious cycle. So let's set up a fixed scenario so you can walk me through. So if this was my scenario, tell me how you would guide me. So my rent is $1,000. I've got $5,000 in credit card debt, and I'm making $4,000 a month. So I'm barely by the time I pay all of that, what would you tell me to start doing?
First, we would look at your categories. I believe in the 50-30-20 principle, where you live on 50%, 30% pays, what is it, your bills, and then, or your bills, whatever, or your savings, and then the last 20% is your savings and investing for the future. Once we get those numbers and I have like my clients do a spreadsheet and tell me like what they spend in a month. I said, don't forget anything, put it all there. And that's where you actually see where the money goes. So once they get their money laid out and they see it in front of them, they start putting it in these categories and that helps them. But before this, they've never had those categories. They just, money comes in, money goes out. They didn't know where it was, what category it went to, nothing. I mean, if the kids needed clothes, they'd buy clothes, whether they had the budget for it or not. And that's where that $5,000 of your credit card debt went. So once we do that, we would use part of that 30% category to pay back your debt because you need to pay that back and still have that 20% because you have to have your safety net. Let's say your water heater breaks and you don't have that emergency account left, then guess where it's going to go? Added back to that credit card debt. So you kind of have to work and people have to be flexible. So I only take clients that are flexible and really, really, really want to change where they're at and they're workable, they're teachable. And if there's some category, like say we can't cut the cable, we have to have that, okay, then what else can we look at? They're not being deprived of anything. They get to do basically spend you're basically telling your money where to go. You get to choose where you spend it. Now, if you want to change your future, then you have to have that savings core, and then we need to get that debt paid off and teach you how not to get there again.
When you go through an itemized list of everyone's expenses, what are common expenses you see that pop up that you're like, what in the world are you thinking? You're spending X amount on X amount. You're laughing, so you have the answer to this question. What is it? I'm curious what it is.
Yeah. I told you I have rental properties and I just die because I asked for 3 months of bank statements and income and things like that. And to look at their bank statements, to see fast food, I'm like, oh my God, are you out of your mind? Can't you look at what you're spending? I mean, my God, in not even a week, they spend what I spend in a month on groceries. So
It's
I'd
the
say,
convenience factor. It's like I'll just order because I'm working and I'm tired and I don't want to sit, I don't have a day to sit and cook or meal prep or what have you. And I looked at because my daughter has does not do this anymore because now she lives on her own and is responsible for all her own bills. But boy, when I used to help her out and I would like DoorDash, DoorDash, DoorDash. I'm like, who's DoorDash? Who is this? Is this another child? Who is this DoorDash person? Because they're getting paid an awful lot of money. It's crazy to me when I saw those costs. And it was crazy
yeah.
to her when she started to have to pay her own bills.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's what people don't think about. And like, it's like, and typically, I haven't put this, but typically men, they carry cash in their wallet while women would use the plastic because they don't want to be robbed with a bunch of money. So men will have a bunch of money in their wallet and they'll spend $5 for coffee, tip for this, or food for that, without even really knowing where it went because you don't keep it in your mind where that money went. So that's even harder, I think, for men. That's why I suggest an app for people. So when you spend it, put it under, my food budget or my dining out budget, my entertainment, whether it's movie or game, ball game ticket, just know where it's going. And once
If
you
you
see
were
it, like the light bulb comes on.
It's shocking. It's
It is.
shocking. I can tell you. So I take care of most of the. It's the way we have a great marriage. My husband's great at certain things that are bills, and then I do other things because I have to run my own business. And he's so funny. He comes in the other day and he says, "Do you know how much money we pay that groomer for? We have one dog." And I said, "Yes, I do know how much money." I said that dog should be a write-off because we spend so much money on the groomer. And he was shocked. And I said, the groomer's at the house every 3 weeks making her pretty. And I said, and we don't take her someplace. So there's an added expense. But even in my own household, we have these conversations about, did you know? Did you know? And when you're all flying in all different directions, I think people don't realize, but let me back up because I'm old. So I mean, I have bad habits but I really want to get to people that feel like they're never going to have an opportunity. And when I look across the board, my daughter's 26, and I look at the younger generation, it's, I hate to feel sorry. I feel sorry for them. And then there's a part of me that looks and goes, I don't feel that sorry for you. I want them to have an opportunity to ultimately buy a house. I want them to ultimately have an opportunity not to have to work 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, just so they can pay their rent. What advice do you have for them?
Well, I'll give you some encouragement from the
Okay.
class I taught toward the last quarter of the year. So after spring break, between spring break and summer break, my students had to write a business plan, and we spent about 8 weeks on it. And I give them parts of it each time, and they had to keep it initially between 20, but by the time I retired, they had to keep it within $30,000. And they had to tell me where I went. We talked about advertising, about either booth rent, space rent, whatever, things like that. And one of my students, he was the computer geek at school, and he loved my class. He was on the TV news class with another teacher. He videotaped the football games, he videotaped the graduations, the dances and stuff. And his business plan, he wanted to build custom made computers out of his house. So he didn't have overhead. And he told me he's going to advertise because he knew all the gaming sites, the computer sites. And I thought, oh, great. After graduation, I think maybe about 2 to 3 years after he graduated, he contacted me on Facebook and say, hey, Miss Cuevas, how's it going? And I said, fine. How is your computer business? Well, I don't have one. I go, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, I started a trucking company here in Fontana, which is a trucking. There's a big hub. They have truck training people there. So he has his own trucking company. So it means he's bought his trucks and stuff. And he was an Indian student. And he says, I went back to India and I started a factory over there. And my factory ships stuff to me here and I ship it out from here. So he's getting money from two ends. He goes, not only
Oh,
that, Miss Cuevas, I bought my mom and myself a really nice house in the north side of Fontana in a nice area, not area
no,
where I lived at.
really?
So
Wow.
he's like not even 20 years old, maybe 21, buying his first house because of what I taught them in my class. So, like you said, kids don't know. They need to have this because parents don't talk this knowledge or this I guess it's knowledge. They have to have this showed or taught to them somehow because it's not in any college degree you get. It's just not there. So I think once you have the knowledge, knowledge is power, then you change your future. You mentioned kind of you're old. Well, I think I'm probably older than you because I've already retired from full-time work. But my turning point was my 40s after a divorce when I almost lost the house. And I had about $7,000 of credit card debt, making about 21,000 years as a starting teacher. And I was like hopeless. How am I ever going to pay this off? Which you feel overwhelmed. And I really didn't know where to go. My cousin told me, and once my ex had died, I got Social Security for it. So I got more than what I was getting for child support. And through that, she goes, you need to understand when they turn 18, that money doesn't happen anymore. My girls were a year and a half. Actually, they're 14 months apart. So I started planning for that. I started paying off that credit card debt as time goes by. I'm making now more each year. I get a little bit of a raise at school and so forth. So I just forced myself to create spreadsheets and do everything I needed. So now I count for all my money, and I taught myself all this stuff. So I say people the school of hard knocks, and that's why I work with people 40s and above, because that was about my turning point. So you just need knowledge, and it's just putting knowledge. Like I do a lot of short videos with little tidbits and things like, YouTube and Instagram and stuff. So hopefully, even if it just helps somebody, that's all I want to do. I enjoy doing those things. I talk about current topics, but I said I'm mainly geared towards women, obviously, because I'm a woman, and 40s was my turning point. So that's where I started. So.
I think that's a great story, and it's funny how life kind of forces you there. And in a perfect world, I wish women especially would just take the opportunity because I don't know if this is true or not. I'm going to say that I tend to feel women are a bit more organized because they juggle so many balls. And I think in a perfect world, I would love them to see that their finances are always the number one priority, because the trickle down effect of, that money takes care for the house, takes care of the kids, takes care of the groceries, takes care of the future. And I would hate for everyone to have to hit 40 and go through a divorce to figure out how they can have this financial freedom. So if you were going to suggest an app to, if even if you're under 40, let's just say it's my daughter, 26 years old, living on her own, what would you use?
I'm trying to think of all the ones. You can get on your Google Play or Apple Store, whatever they call it, and ask for a budgeting app. I think there's one
Right.
called Money. There's one that I use. I refer them. It's like a pay place. You pay like to have all their budgets, and it automatically tracks what you do via your credit cards and so forth, so you know when you hit a budget limit. But there's all kinds of free ones. I don't even know which one I ever used, but there are lots of free apps. Just go to your Google store or your Apple store and you will find them. Just put in there free budgeting app. There are multitudes of them. And the free ones usually have commercials or ads, which is not a big deal. You just put your numbers and you're out of there. So there's just so many different ones,
Okay.
literally.
And we
So
like the word free because we're not spending more money to see how
oh,
to save our money. That's always a good thing. So, when you were teaching this class, what are some questions that I don't know if you'll remember this. I'm going to give this question a try here. So, what are some common questions that the kids would have? Because I can't imagine that those questions are changing, because numbers are numbers. But what was kind of a common question that they always got stuck on, or they really didn't understand?
I don't know that these kids really ask questions because just like myself, there's a bit of ignorance there because it can't be taught at home because the parents had a language barrier and it just you don't know what to ask because you don't know what you don't know.
Okay,
So
that's
keeping
fair.
it at that, I would teach them the topics. They might have a question here or there. Why is this a debit instead of a credit? When we got to the stock market game, they had no clue what a stock was. So I went and I read a story about a boy at his birthday, and it's called the candy bar or something like that. But it was this boy had a birthday, and I stopped and paused at certain words, like his mom tossed him a candy bar. So I said, name not a candy bar, but the company that makes it. So they start naming like Hershey's or whatever, or Snickers. I said, yeah, but who makes Snickers? Snickers isn't the company. So they start to learn who makes Snickers. Mars makes Snickers and so forth, and things like that. So different different things in the story, then they got to know what a stock is. Then I ask them, okay, where do you guys shop at? What stores do you like to go buy clothes? Or, and they say, well, we like to go to Tilly's or we like to go to this. I say, well, Tilly's is a public company. Let's look at their stock. So we start with that. So now they know what a stock is. And I said, if you guys are spending money at these stores and if a lot of kids across the country spend money at this store, then that might be a good stock to buy because a lot of people are buying and giving business to that company. So therefore the stock would probably be relatively secure. But then later on in my advanced class, we talked about what could possibly happen, either management changes or they try to go like Krispy Kreme grew too big, too fast. They had them on practically every corner, like a 7-Eleven, and finally they had to close a bunch of stores because they just opened up too big, too fast. You have to look at the management team. They have to have big, audacious goals. Like the woman that now runs Ulta, her big goal is to get it outside of the United States because they've pretty much already saturated all the major metropolitan markets here in the States. She actually took them out of the country. So you look at the company's books, you look at their management, you look at their goals, what they're trying to do. And that's kind of how I taught them about the stock market. But normally you wouldn't know what to ask. So
You
that's kind
wouldn't, but how would you, let me interrupt you for just 1 second. So how would you, so I'm a kid and, and I'm not going to use Apple because that's too big of a monster, but go back to Ulta for a second. Where would a kid, where would an adult go to kind of get the background on who runs Ulta and how would you find that out to do your research?
That's super easy. You can go like to Yahoo Finance, Google Finance. You pull up the company, you look at their ticker symbol, you click on it, and you look about the company. And this is part of what I taught my kids in the stock market game. It tells you who runs the company. It tells you what their price has been over the last year, up, down, whatever. It's high and it's low. It tells you their expense ratio of buying that company. If you're thinking about buying, well, not the company, that would be in ETFs or mutual funds. They have the fees. Companies don't. You also get to find out about the company. They have different tabs, so find out about the company, what they do. My students learn that I think it's Hershey, this public company. Not only do they make candy bars, but they make pet food and other things. They learned about Procter and Gamble, and I said, well, in a tough time, let's say, for example, my kids that went through COVID, and you couldn't go shopping at stores. What did you have to have? Well, we have to have toilet paper, and things like that, and we have to have shampoo. We still have to wash our clothes. Okay, who makes those products? And they find Procter and Gamble made a bunch of them. So whether our company goes to heck in a handbasket, you still got to use the bathroom. You still have to wash your hair. You got to stay clean. So they learned about that just from a free search on the internet. Just click on their ticker symbol and you read everything about the company.
I like how you made it so practical. It's not, you just you dumbed it down to just
Well,
look at what you're doing in your everyday life that you have to do every single day. And that naturally makes that path for you to find those companies if that's what you're interested in. So go fast forward and you're a 40-year-old mom in today's economy, in today's world. If they have the debt, I mean, rents are crazy. It just seems like prices are astronomical. I do think that there's a sense out there that people are never going to get their head above water. Is it the same system of you've just got to look at what you're doing, what you're spending?
it's let's just talk about why it gets harder in your 40s. In your 40s and beyond, at this stage of life, decisions carry more weight. It's not just about you, there's usually other things. So it's rarely just about real estate or timing or about family. It's got financial implications, you got future flexibility. What makes these decisions difficult is a lack of intelligence or experience. And that's how I learned it in experience. I went through the school of hard knocks. It's everything is connected and you have, especially in your 40s, it's not just about you anymore. By that time you typically might have a child or two, whether you're married or not. You still got trying to pay the bills. And I remember when I was married to my first husband, we saved a lot and we made our house payment. We had extra money, so we were really good savers, probably because of me back then. But this was before divorce and life hit. So we actually had money to buy a second house and be able to still keep our first house. We had the down payment for the second house. And this is, of course, before the prices are now, but it's still relative to what you're making. So it's just learning about how to budget. And the sooner you learn that, I mean, I taught my students, there's an excellent documentary called FIRE, which stands for Financial Independence Retire Early. I actually got my school to buy it for me. I showed it to every class I had. And it talked about a couple, I think they were like probably, they had a little 2-year-old, 3-year-old daughter, maybe in their late 20s, maybe, I'm not sure, maybe early 30s, if that, living the dream, beachside house in San Diego, but they had bills, cars they couldn't afford, things like that. And it shows you how they went through giving up a car, buying a lower price car, how they managed to sell their condo, live with family, and how they were able to retire in their 40s after all this turmoil and being not even paycheck, going into debt. It showed you, and this, of course, is an extreme. But if you start early, like I told my students, without even punching all that, without even having debt to pay off, if you invest like I taught you in this class and save like I taught you, live within your means, you can be, a multimillionaire by the time you're 44 years old and be able to retire. But that doesn't mean you retire, because if you sit and do nothing, your mind goes blah, 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 and everything else, but you will have
And
the
you spend your
choice
money.
to you will have the choice to work. And also in this generation, most of them want to be entrepreneurs. They don't want to work for somebody else because that's never guaranteed. Your company can close, go out of business, downsize you, anything can happen. Well, if you own your own business, nobody stops you but you. You work as hard as you want or not, and what you put into is what you get out of it. That's why I had them write the business plan to be able to support themselves.
What is something that you would, so you have the 40-year-old, they've got kids and they haven't got their business plan, they haven't done what you've told them to do. If they were to start saying something to their children and having conversation, how would you have them start? Because I grew up in, the era of your parents didn't talk money around you. They didn't, if they were having trouble paying bills, that was not for the kids to hear.
Yeah.
So how do they start those conversations and get over how I was taught or not taught, I guess is how I would
Yeah.
explain it.
Well, I was raised the same way. I mean, my mother never told us, like, she was barely making it paycheck to paycheck. So we just got by, and I was fine with hand-me-down clothes from the people she worked for. So I thought, hey, these are great, nice new clothes. But if I was to have a conversation now with my kids, and in fact, I think I did back then, I showed them, like during the divorce, what money was coming in. I gave them each a turn, 1 month. I said, here's the checkbook. I said, you write, and they knew, they were like in junior high or high school by this time. They knew how to add, subtract. I said, this is how much the house payment is, blah, blah, blah. This is my pay. I got paid once a month at the beginning of the month, so I had to make it stretch the whole month. And I said, now write the checks. And they would write the checks and I'd sign them. And this is old school when they didn't have automatic payments back then. So they learned that way. And then when they would ask me for something, I go, well, look at the checkbook. Do we still have, let's say, 200 left for the other utilities that come the end of the month, and groceries and stuff? And if we didn't, then I said, then I'm sorry, you can't have that new shirt or that dress or whatever, whatever it was they wanted. So they actually got to see budget and not budget. They learned how to pay the credit card bills. I told them, this is how much the bill is, but we don't have money to pay it all, but we're going to pay as much as we can this month. So I kind of seeded budgeting to them until I got out of debt. I got out of debt before they were both out of high school, which was a blessing in and of itself. But just teach them, give them, like if they give them an allowance, teach them about the 50-30-20. Live on 50, spend, for if they have to buy their own clothes, let's say, if you give them a decent allowance or they have their own job. Okay, now you got to buy your own clothes, pay your own cell phone bill, or, just whatever you can afford. You teach them that. And that's that there's 20% you need to save. And you can either save towards your retirement account. Now, if they're working, they can put it in. I'd suggest a Roth IRA. Open up one on E-Trade or something, but just open up a Roth IRA and start putting your money there, and then have it your emergency savings. So let's say you want this, I don't know, you got your car blew an engine, you got to spend $500 for a new engine, and you don't have it in your emergency account. You pay what you can, put it on credit card, then you pay it off, then you build up the emergency account again. That always has to be there. And I always suggested, back in your and my day, emergency account could have been no more than 3 months of expenses. Now they say up to 6 months. I taught my students 6 to 9 months, and especially going through COVID, if they didn't have that 9 months, they would have been on their bellies. So the more you have, the better. And there's also better, by the time you get, depends on how much money you're talking about. Mine would have been maybe $60,000. You're not going to keep that in a 0.01% or 0.1% savings account. You're going to put it online and at least make a little bit more there.
So
So
why
it's
do
just,
Why do
I'm
you think that families don't have these conversations with their kids?
because they don't know about it. It's just like it's generational. It's the way it was with me. It's the way it was with my kids. They don't know how to talk to them about money. I didn't know how to talk to my kids about it till I was like thrown into death or die,
So
sink or swim.
do your kids have kids?
Yes, they both do. My
And
oldest
so
one has three, youngest has one.
do your kids talk to their kids about finances? Do you ever hear the conversations like that?
They definitely don't. My youngest one, she has one 5-year-old, so not yet, but although she could, she doesn't. But she does have, I guess, money she gives her for something, but she keeps it. And so when she goes to the store and she wants to buy like a cake pop at Starbucks or something, okay, well, it
Right.
comes out of your account and you either have the money or you don't, type of thing. And that's the 5-year-old version.
Sure, yeah.
The other ones, she spoils her kids, so I don't even know if I even had a money conversation with them. That drove me nuts. So none of my grandkids that I ever buy a present for their birthday or Christmas, and that doesn't make me a green mean grandma. I used to put it in a bank account for them until I learned how to learn about stocks. Then I put it in a stock account. And the best example I give you is my oldest grandson. He's now 19. He went into the Marines. And when he turned 18, his UGMA account, I said, it's now yours, but I would like to still, trade it and have control over it. So we did that. We converted it over and so forth. And I probably put in I started giving him maybe $25 for their birthday and 25 for Christmas. Toward the end, I was giving him 50. So let's just say I put in, I don't know, let's just say $700. My oldest grandson's stock account had over $7,000 in it just because of the way I traded and invested stocks for him. And his parents bought him a car to go to college. And the car they bought him, something, the engine blew or something. He needed a transmission. So he says, Nana, I said, I don't have the money to buy it. Can I have money from my account? I said, Christian, you don't have to ask for it. It's your money. I said, but I would like you, if you take it out because it's a retirement account for you, I'd like you to put it back. And he started paying me back. Then he went in the Marine Corps. Now he's paying into that one. But he learned about having money and how wanting to save. And I taught him, I said, it's yours to have, but it'd be nice if you pay it back. So before he went in the military, started paying it back. But now he's paying back his military, whatever, I don't know, TSP or whatever they call it there.
Right.
So I'm happy he did
It's those little lessons,
that.
and it's just those little tiny things that stick with you. I'm gonna wrap this up because we could keep having stories after stories after stories. So there's a couple things I want you to share with the audience. One is, are you doing any seminars? Are you doing any classes online? If you are, what are they? And if someone wants to reach out to you to get some coaching from you, what's all of your contact information? Because your information, it's not like I've had financial planners on and they present this big sophisticated story. And this is just kind of nuts and bolts and simple down to earth daily life that you're dealing with. And I think that more than anything is so necessary. So fill us up with information on how we get in touch with you.
Well, at the beginning, I did do a webinar once, and something went wrong with the link that I was talking to crickets in the audience. But I did a whole thing on budgeting. I showed how to do a spreadsheet. I think I still have it online, but I definitely want to redo it. The short videos I do, I put them on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, and I put them on my YouTube channel. The YouTube actually has my longer form content. So there's all kinds of content that they can look up the topic. I even have podcasts on there so they get information. Obviously, like you mentioned, this conversation, there's a lot to learn just from our time together today. If they
Sure.
want to learn more, my website's probably the best way, which is www.financialfreedompathway.us. And on there, they can go to my socials. They can scroll to the bottom. They can sign up for my newsletter. I have a weekly newsletter goes out with tons of information, including articles to go look at. It's a topic for the day, and usually they fit for that month and so forth. Like right now, we're talking about taxes and so forth for this month. But I have all kinds of free stuff out there. So,
Okay,
whatever
that's
you
great.
need. And I have a free consultation. So if you just have any bunch of questions, I have a 30-minute consultation for free as well. So then we can
We
go from
like
there.
free. Free is
Yeah.
good.
I believe in paying it forward. So I do as much free as I can.
I love that. And what's a good phone number if somebody wanted to give you a call?
I would rather contact me through social media.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Okay, social media on Instagram. What is your handle on Instagram?
you're asking me the tough questions now. Let me get back. And you know what? The best pay, honestly, the best thing is my website because there's
Okay.
links to all my socials on my website.
Okay, that's
So,
easier. That's easier
yeah.
because then however they like to communicate, it's all right there for you.
And there's
I
even a
really
contact me form on there as well.
perfect. And I just tell me one more time that fire that I think that's what it was
Yes.
called.
Yeah,
Is there,
FIRE.
do you
Yeah.
have that? How does someone get that?
I think you can actually rent it like on Amazon. I think it's like under $10. Like you rent a movie, whatever. It's under
Right.
$10. I think you can buy versions of it elsewhere. There's other places. You just have to Google it. The Fire
Okay.
documentary, and it's F period I period because it stands for Financial Independent Retire Early. So make sure you get the right. And
Okay.
it's called the Fire document. It's got a picture of a young couple. The wife is blonde. The guy is like dishwater brown blonde hair. And if you see them, then you know you got the right one. But it's the
Okay.
Fire documentary.
Okay, perfect. I think that was a great nugget of information for people and your contact information. Thank you so much for coming and chatting with me. It's been a pleasure having you on my podcast. I'm just saying, you got just so many good points. I love that and I appreciate you giving us the time to share all of your great knowledge. We'll have to do a second series though. I think there's so much
We
to
do.
talk with you.
We could probably have 10 series and talk about all the different topics and things I help with, investing for one, or real estate, or how
My
to scrutinize a tenant. I mean, there's so much I could talk about.
My little brain is saying, gosh, I would love to have you. I'm not sure where you are. Where are you in California?
I'm in Corona.
Oh, okay. So you're not horribly far away. I'm thinking, gosh, I would love to do something because, our schools are so popular up here to either do something where the parents come with the kids and something fun. I don't know. My brain goes all these crazy places to just when it's great information, I want everyone to have great information. And I think this was wonderful information. So thank you again.
Well, I wouldn't mind flying somewhere. Buy my ticket. I'll go fly in and out the same day. I'm just not going out of the country for a while.
Okay, there you go. There you go. Stick around town. We don't have to host it out of the country. We'll do something local. No, we'll talk about that offline again.
Definitely. It was my pleasure being here. I hope if anybody, anything, even if one person gets helped by anything I've said, that makes me just happy.
100%. I completely agree. You have a great time or a great afternoon, and we will chat again very, very soon.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Thanks. Bye. I'm Robbyn Battles, and I'm just saying, I want to thank you for listening. I hope you'll come back for future episodes and be sure to like, share, and follow. I'm just saying, let's get to the point. I'm Robbyn Battles.